As a reminder of Jamie, who, by the way, was one of the first people to help us put this event together and to tell people to come. So I wanted her to be here in this way. Lisa, are you here somewhere?
Hi.
So Jamie's cousin Lisa is here. We're actually working to raise a little bit of money to put signs up in the area where she was hiking so that nothing like this ever happens again. So if you want to find Lisa, who's in the striped dress, or me after, if you want to contribute or ask anything about it, please feel free to. But you know, I think we can honor Jamie, who had this incredible inner glow, by cultivating in each of us an inner glow. And Matthieu Ricard believes that each of us can attain that inner glow. You know, it comes from inner peace, and it comes from happiness. And what an honor it is to have him here tonight to teach us how to get that glow. Matthieu, who many of you may have heard about, was a biochemist, got his PhD, so he comes from the scientific world, and then chose to become a Buddhist monk. He gave a big TED talk that probably a lot of you saw about how to cultivate the habits of happiness. He wrote a book called Happiness that became an international bestseller, and then a very small volume about altruism, just like the best paperweight that you could imagine. 900 pages on altruism. So how do you connect meditation and happiness and altruism? I think there's no better man in the world to explain this than Matthieu Ricard. Thank you so much.
Okay, now? Can I start all over again? Anyway, we've gone. So, yes, big words, you know, happiness, compassion, meditation. So what is this all about? So when we wake up in the morning, we may not formulate it, but somehow we have a kind of a vision of the day, of the year, the course of our life. And for sure, whether it's conscious or not, whether we tell it to ourselves or not, somehow we have to kind of expect hope that there will be a good life. No one wakes up thinking, may I suffer all day, and it would be great if I could suffer my whole life, isn't it? And whatever we do, whether we take a cup of tea, spend some time with a friend, go in the forest, or whether we undertake a project in life, relationship, a family, we choose a place to live, we try to decide what really we feel to do and to be in this life. We have this in mind of a better life, of remaining to the cause of suffering and flourishing somehow. That seems natural. So now, then why is it? Maybe life will teach us enough about that. We don't have to do anything special, just live a so-called a full life. That's kind of a little bit of a risky concept. You know, people say, I love my defects as much as my qualities. That makes it, and I love the alternance of suffering and happiness. That makes a colorful life. But Goethe said, 3 days of uninterrupted happiness will be unbearable. It's all the same. The suffering is so colorful, there's ups and downs, it's like going on the roller coaster. I'm not sure, Parisian French intellectuals say that, they call the dirty works of happiness, this is boring. Suffering is so intense, dramatic. But is it true? When you look at this is sometimes what I see in the Himalayas, Actually, I took that in the Andes, but it looks the same. All the mountains look as beautiful. So when you're sitting there, watching this endless, and then your mind merges with the sky, with the vastness of the landscape. You're not thinking, oh, I really miss the emergency war of something really tragic in the world. It's kind of boring. You feel sort of attuned to something. Meditation is as much outside as inside. But just to say, sometimes when we say, or just that's the way I am, take it or leave it, it's a little bit not wanting to, giving up the race even before crossing the starting line. Yes, we do have a baseline. We all come with different light and shadows, skills and limitations. But who would really claim, it would be quite arrogant to say, oh, I'm an optimal life. There's nothing that will be better in my life. That's quite... I heard someone saying that when in Hong Kong. He told me, everything is absolutely perfect about everything in my life, everything I am. I can look at it really surprised. It's really everything we could imagine that there's not some qualities that we would like to enhance. Some of the challenges and struggles and conflict or mental toxins that poison our life, we would like to get rid of. So life, of course, teaches us a lot. I mean, in a way we were not born not knowing how to read and write. We spend so much time for education, for professional learning, for learning skills, whether it's music or sport or playing chess or any kind of skill that brings some richness in our life. So by what kind of mystery, when it comes to fundamental human qualities like inner freedom, inner strength, compassion, joyful resilience to gain the resources, inner resources to deal with ups and downs of life. It would be a complete mystery if right from the start, whatever of those qualities we have a potential for will be right at the top without doing anything. It's counterintuitive. It goes against every conventional wisdom about skills that needs to be trained, to be honed. Maybe some of us, maybe you're already, I'm sure there is someone in the room who has run a marathon. Is there anyone run a marathon? Okay, quite a few. Great. So I guess you trained a little bit, right? Or more than a little bit. You didn't got up a morning having no running training and say, I'm going to run a marathon, good luck. So it's the same with everything. Why should it be different for compassion? You did run a marathon, you had the potential to run a marathon. Many people here have that potential. Unless we train, it's dormant. It's not actualized. It's not brought to its ultimate point. So yes, we have different dispositions. Some are happier, some are more anxious, some are naturally optimistic, some not. Some are more generous, some not. That's our baseline. But from that baseline, there's always a huge margin of transformation. That's what mind training is about. That's what meditation is about. By the way, meditation means mind training. So training in what? So if you tell someone, I'm training, great. Is that what, rugby or badminton? So likewise, meditation, you are training your mind, but what? Focused attention, open presence, compassion. All those are different skills which you can train your mind. And the reason to train those skills is to gradually identify and get rid of the mental factors that undermine your flourishing and also induce you to act and speak in ways that are detrimental to the happiness of others. If your mind is full of animosity and you continue to ruminate that again and again, you are training your mind. Your mind becomes more inclined to animosity. You will express that in your words and deeds. But you cannot at the same time wish someone good and you cannot wish to harm and wish to do good at the same time. So the more you will give space in your mental landscape for loving kindness and compassion, the more that will become what you are. So that's the basic of mind training. So I will return to that, and at the end we'll do a little exercise. But you know, sometimes in our modern world, you might say, well, this guy comes from those nice places, good for him, it's easy, to meditate on compassion, but think about being caught in a traffic jam in Paris or New York, that's not as easy. So then, and also, maybe it's just like that. Someone was born being inclined to meditation and so forth. But can it really, what the science has to say about that? Because this is in modern times, sometimes it's something people start to pay attention. You say, really? It really changed your brain? Change your immune system? Wow, so that's a real thing, it works. It's not just blissing out of the mango tree. Meditation, usually there's those ideas of meditation, emptying your mind and relaxing, levitating if you can. You see this. There was a cover of Time magazine, you see beautiful blonde ladies sort of levitating on the beach. But emptying your mind, how does that work? How can you stop a thought when it's already there, by the way? So the question is how to deal with your thoughts. If a small thought comes like a spark, you let it be a forest fire, filling your mind with anger or craving, or you let it pass like a bird without trace. Anyway, all those could be nice words, but I think the collaboration with science, and I'm just going to show you a few images, bring down some kind of, people will say, oh, something that really makes a difference. So in our modern world, which is mostly a secular world, where people trust science, I think it's a good way to contribute to society. So this collaboration began with the Dalai Lama being very interested in science. He said, if I'm not being Dalai Lama, I probably would have been an electrical engineer or something, with screwdrivers and stuff like that. But he's a Dalai Lama, so therefore, but he has a keen interest in science. When he came out of Tibet, he went to meet the greatest scientists of the time. And I think one day when we were having a meeting, I remember in 2000, on destructive emotion with Paul Ekman, Richard Davidson, many great scientists, halfway to the week of our discussion, one morning he said, it's all nice our discussion, but what can we contribute to society? But hence came the idea of a research program to see with good scientists and hopefully good meditators, what can we learn from mind training? Does it really change what you are? So I'm going to show a few things about that. So I don't know where is the teleprompter? Or here. Or well, you can't see anything anymore. Can we dim a little bit some of the lights? Okay, good. So, this is a perfect place. There's no movie hall, no supermarket, there's nothing else to do. So that is in Bhutan, that's called the tiger nest. You can only go there if you want to study or meditate. Okay, good. Now this is how this collaboration has shaped. Meetings with the Mind and Life Institute, with Richard Davidson, who one of the pioneer of studying neuroscience of meditation, is in Madison, Wisconsin. And then I really enjoys those meetings. Here's Francisco Varela, who 28 years ago, he was also a great neuroscientist, Chilean born, studied in research in Harvard, then in France. And he got this idea of bringing some scientists with the Dalai Lama to help him to know more about science, but soon it became a much more producive collaboration. So the idea was, let's see what long-term meditators, should I come down so that you can all see? Okay. So we're not going to put the Dalai Lama in fMRI machine. It feels not so respectful. We are going to test his brain or something. So neither, this is my teacher, the Kensei Rinpoche, another of my, this is Kangyo Rinpoche. So you can see these men and women of incredible wisdom and kindness. And before, when we met, some friends were asking, how can you describe a spiritual master? So it's very hard to describe someone like that, who's very simple, very beautiful, but full of compassion and wisdom. So we don't want to bring those great masters with ephemera and stuff like that. But fortunately, some of their students, this is also a remarkable woman, who was a wonderful, extraordinary meditator. Next slide, okay. So now, you get the disciples of those great teachers coming to the lab and then lending themselves to scientific investigation. And in the first batch, there were people with between 10,000 to 60,000 hours of meditation. So to give you an idea what does that mean, a musician who does her or his first concert has usually 10,000 hours behind of practice. So that's up to 6 times that much. So there's two ways, two main ways, study electroencephalogram that can detect very fast change in the brain, but it's not very good at localization in 3 dimensions. The other one is the MRI machine. Unfortunately, this is Matthieu Ricard, who disappeared in the mountain for a few years, and hopefully will come back. Completely disappeared. So anyway, he said MRI has 4 characteristics. It is cold, it is narrow, it is dark, and it is noisy. So it's not the perfect place to meditate, and you are supposed to lie down. It's not like that. But MRI machine allows you to see very clearly in 3 dimensions precisely where some areas are activated. But the time lag is slower. Then, okay, here you need also to compare with bad meditators to see the difference. So this with Rishi Davidson, after 2.5 hours on an MRI machine, the only thing that was good about the meditator that he survived that. Now, if you look at the results, from the start it was clear that the training made a huge difference. I'm not going to go into big details here, but here you have a control group of novice people who did for a week, and if you don't see, never mind, it's all flat. So down is the control group at rest, nothing happened. In meditation, nothing happens. Here on the top, meditators at rest, so there's no big activity, but when they engage in, that was compassion, unconditional compassion meditation, here you see a huge increase in the gamma frequencies of the brain waves. A magnitude that was, according to Richard Davidson, was never described earlier in neuroscience, this kind of amplitude. And that happened in many, next slide please. Okay, so this is a group of meditators. This measures the peak that I showed before of gamma frequency. So you see some of them are really, really better than others. But compared to the control group, this is almost inexistent. And here they are clearly all above that baseline with some individual differences. But what shows you is as a group, whether they were Bhutanese farmers or British doctor or French woman, there were lay people, men, women, Easterners, Westerners. Now there are several hundreds, at least 100 long-term meditators were tested. What matters is not where they came from, whether they're monks or not, is how much do they train, and that's what really is important. And if you look, as the next slide should show, this little machine. Where is the machine? Yes, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the same sort of gamma peak intensity, and here is how many hours from 10,000 to 60,000 hours. So you see, basically, the more you practice, the more intense the activation is, which is interesting. Now, if you look at brain imagery, this is again the meditators at rest, and when they engage in compassion meditation, many areas are strongly activated. Those are related to sense of affiliation, parental care, sense of wholesomeness, positive emotion, empathy, and so forth. So those are very strong. And if you look at the control group, this is the novice at rest, nothing happens, meditation, again nothing happens. That's normal, they are not trained. So I'm passing by, but this is, for instance, when you test physical pain with meditators. So this is a control group, and meditators are in red, intense burning pain. And when you ask them to rate the intensity of the pain, of course both feel the pain, but when you measure the unpleasantness of the pain, then meditators don't feel that bothered with the pain. And it's not just that they pretend, because if you look in the brain, in the pain network here, you see the untrained people, there's a strong activation in the brain, but in the meditators almost nothing. So that shows a real mastery of the mind. And so now attention. Attention is another kind of way of training your mind. Normally, if you do an attention task, normal subjects, you lose attention with time, you get tired. That's why they change the air traffic controllers every 20 minutes. So because if you become too bad and they are distracted, it's not good. Now, as you see in the down figure here, trained meditators, their attention curve is flat. We did up to 45 minutes, and you have to have 1,000 times you have to push a button when it's a 0. There's many numbers flashing by 3 per second, and when you should not push when it's a 8 or 3, only when it's a 0. You start making more and more mistakes. Those guys don't make mistakes. There was some of them, 1,000 trials, 0 mistake, 100% accurate. And this guy here, oh, it's much better when I come there. He went at the end of a 3 years retreat in our retreat center in Nepal. He did this perfect curve, 1,000 replies, 100% accuracy, very fast. And at the end he said, what's the problem? You want me to go on? He was there for the whole day. He thought, so what is a skill? When you begin something like, I don't know, skiing or riding a bicycle, you're very nervous, you don't do it well, you're very tense, and it's tiring. When you master a skill, it's like you're in the flow. You can lift your hands if you're riding a bicycle, look in the air and sing, and you do it well. I remember a downhill skier who won the Olympic gold medal. She said, I felt like a river when she was coming down this difficult downhill path. So you do something with ease and skill. So that's what he was doing about the mind, about attention. So you see how you can do. So you say, oh, that's great, but what about, sorry. So that's so the video doesn't seem to work. Okay, well, this was working fine. So that's also meditators, when they master their mind, there's a strong explosion which we can't hear because the sound is not there, sorry. But there's a kind of a gunshot. You see that lady, she screams actually, and there's a gunshot in the room. So now, here's one of those meditators. So here was the gunshot. So not much difference anyway. It's naturally the same. Same gunshot in your ear. But now, okay, the good news is you don't have to do 60,000 hours of meditation. Here is a group of people who do 20 minutes a day of caring mindfulness for 1 month. No big deal. Anyone can do that. Now, if you look in the brain, there's a structural change. Your brain not only functions differently, the gray matter in some area called the hippocampus, which is the area that assimilates change when you are exposed to new situation, whether you learn to juggle or play chess or do anything, your brain will change. In that case, it's with mindfulness meditation. you see a change, a structural change, more dense gray matter rather than a control group. So that shows that anything you do, even for a few weeks, will already change what you are. And now if you look, there was a training of 2 weeks of compassion meditation, and you could see a big change in prosocial behavior compared to some kind of other interventions. It's not only that you feel more altruistic, you actually behave in more altruistic way. So likewise, this was in a biotech company in Madison, completely randomly selected employees who volunteered for that. And after 3 months, you can see for the group that did the mindfulness-based stress reduction, a reduction of anxiety. And not only subjectively, if they get a flu shot and you measure the antibodies, you can see that there are 30% more antibodies, so a more robust immune system just by doing these 3 months of 20 minutes a day. And that's finally the monks escaping from the lab. So just to conclude this, it seems that therefore individual change is possible. Now I think we should see the bigger picture. We also want society to change. We want a better world. So let's take a skill like having more consideration for others, altruism. This is the most needed quality of all we need today. We are facing many challenges in the short term, in the mid-term, and the long term. I'm not going to do a long lecture, which I spent 5 years of researching, but I cannot help but telling that it's very hard to reconcile the immediate needs, financial needs, the ups and downs of the economical life, which is the short term, the needs of our life to flourish, to express our potential, to have a happy life, a life we can, happy to have lived with our dear ones, and to somehow we look back at our life, we have no regrets. So we ought to do that. And then the long term, which is now the fate of future generation, which is in our hands. They will say you knew and yet you did nothing. So in fact, caring for the future generation is the ultimate challenge for altruism. So selfishness is not going to be the answer. If you are selfish, the homo economicus, if you have no caring economics, you cannot remedy the poverty in the midst of plenty. You cannot care for the common goods, the environment, the quality of the air on the ocean. Without consideration for others, you cannot have more social justice and flourishing life. And without consideration for others, you cannot be concerned by the fate of future generations. So we need this very pragmatic concept of altruism. So the main thing I want to say to conclude before we move to the meditation and the question is that it's a very pragmatic concept that we know now we can cultivate at the individual level. 2,500 years of contemplative approach, meditation has shown that it is possible. Neuroscience tells you yes, individual can change. So what we need now to change cultures and society is a critical mass of people, like-minded people, that will create a tipping point in our culture toward more cooperation, more solidarity, more care, more consideration for others. It is possible. Sometimes 10 people, determined people, those are those who promulgated the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the 18th century in England, 10 people said we should abolish slavery. And then first they laughed. They said it's impossible. The British Empire will economically collapse. And whether it's here or in England, slavery was abolished 10 years later. So tipping points occur. So we need to bring more cooperation, more altruism, and this is the only concept that really works. So that's why I think you can see the articulation point between individual change and societal change. There is hope, and probably this is something that we should really care for, to work together for a better world. So I just want to thank you for your support. And this is what we do in Nepal, very briefly. This is one of our clinics that treats 35,000 patients a year. And in the earthquake area, now for 3 months we have been active we were able to help 200,000 people in 574 villages so far. We brought 600 tons of rice, 50,000 tents. We helped 8,000 people who were needed help support. And now we are going to continue for the next 2-3 years for bringing food security, solar electricity, rebuilding some schools, preventing human trafficking, all kinds of integrated programs in villages in 12 of the 15 most affected districts. Likewise in Tibet, we built 20 dispensaries over the years. We built bridges, there is need for bridges, 18 bridges we have built. We built a home for the elderly. This is the happiest person in the world by far. And then we also build different schools. We try to emphasize on the girl educations. This is a Karuna girl, our little mascot, and I found her again after 10 years, and she's called Beautiful Ocean of Turquoise. You know that Steve McCurry, little Afghan girl? So this is my Tibetan girl. So I think that's it for now. So maybe now we will do a little practical exercise. People ask, how do I do it? So the really is not very mysterious. We know what it is to be sometimes, we call that magical moments. You are walking in the snow under the stars and you feel you have no more inner conflict, you feel completely at peace, you feel loved one, you feel harmony with nature, with others, you see the vast sky, and you feel so peaceful, so vast. And you say that's a magic moment. But magic moment, there are reasons why it's such a magic moment. Moment where your mind was not too wild, in the sense of connectivity with others, with the outer phenomena, a sense of interdependence was there. You are not torn apart between hope and fear, attraction and repulsion. You are at peace. So those are skills that can be cultivated. You say, how can I cultivate compassion? Well, imagine a beautiful child, or like this friend that we lost, this kind of beautiful person, someone whom we love spontaneously. We do feel every one of us has felt unconditional love for someone like that. Only wish good to that person. But then something happened. Someone comes in the room, we think of something else, after 1 or 2 minutes, our mind is somewhere else. So the only difference with meditation is we are going to stay. We are going with that feeling. We are going to nurture that. So let's imagine, so I could do that, something with breathing for attention. It's quite common that meditation teaching begin with that, but I just want to give you an example with love and compassion. So imagine a child or someone, anyone, very dear to you, for whom you have no difficulty to feel unconditional love. Picture that person in your mind, and then just feel, may that person be fully happy, be safe, flourish in life. If the person suffers obstacles, let those obstacles be dispelled, and let that fill your mental landscape. Just try to have no other consideration in mind. Then after a while, what happens? You might be distracted, like a butterfly on the flower. It's full of nectar, but somehow butterfly flies away. Don't know why. It comes back. So let's bring it back if you are distracted. Other things you might start to think. The clarity, the quality, the vividness of that unconditional love might dim, sort of sink, and you revive it. So it's a process of refocusing, reviving, nurturing, maintaining that for 5, 10, 20 minutes. That's all. No sort of mysterious thing. But the thing is, if you do that, and we don't do that usually, like we exercise or something. Exercise your compassion. If you do that, then day after day, definitely that will become more your true nature. But the neuroscience study the plasticity of your brain, they will see a change, and you will see a change. That's even much more important, of course. So let's do that for a few moments together, and then we'll move to the next step about that altruistic love and compassion. But first, start with someone for whom it's easy, it's just flowing naturally. It's just like if you want to learn to sail on a boat. We are going to start with the fine weather, not in a big storm. That's probably too risky for someone who does the first time. Somewhat easy, and then we move to different, increasing, slightly more challenging steps. So let's start with that. So, physical posture, well, something balanced. You don't have to go full lotus and looking like a great yogi, but also something balanced, not just like this or this, because then the mind will be crooked also. So something balanced. You can close your eyes, but usually, at least in the Tibetan tradition, we don't focus on anything special, but we keep our eyes either open or half open, and sort of a panoramic view, so a little bit out of focus, but not really stopping the outer world, just let it be there. Or you can close your eyes, whatever is more comfortable. And then you can put your hands on this or on the knees, but something of some kind of symmetrical. Let's fill our mind with loving kindness and maintain it for a few minutes. Now, when the sun rises in the morning, if you look at in the Himalayas, first it shines on a few peaks that become pink or orange, the highest peaks. So it's like altruistic love shining on those who are very, very close and very, very dear to you. Then, as the sun rises, it illuminates the whole landscape, and then it shines on everyone equally with the same light and the same warmth. So now try to extend that very beautiful and special love for a few to all sentient beings. Just as this child of yours, of course, doesn't want to suffer. You don't want that child to suffer. You want that child to be happy. What's the difference with another child? Why not wishing full happiness to that other child? And why only children? Why stopping at, 7, 8 years old? Why did you put the limit? Why not extending that benevolence, that warm-heartedness to all sentient beings? Every sentient being that makes the difference between happiness and suffering, let wish happiness to them. So let's try like a rising sun to embrace every sentient being within that love and compassion. So now, what happens when those beings are suffering? So the wish, oh, may they be happy, may they find the cause of happiness, which is the essence of loving kindness and altruistic love. When it meets with suffering, it naturally becomes compassion. May the suffering and the cause of suffering be dispelled. That's a powerful aspiration. So let's imagine dear ones and others who go to many kinds of suffering in this world, or being parted from their loved ones, confronted with those who harm them, suffering of sickness, of old age, of death, so many suffering from injustice, massacres, animals who suffer tremendously. So let's fill every atom of suffering with atom of love and wish that may those suffering be removed. Powerful aspiration. When you think of suffering, please, there's two ways to relate to that, so we have to be careful. If we resonate with the suffering of others and measure the intensity of suffering by the impact it has on us, then, of course, the more they are suffering, and there's so many suffering in this world, it will become like a burden, we'll be overwhelmed. We fall in some kind of distress. It's empathic distress, empathy fatigue. But if compassion is not like that, compassion is others oriented. Like a doctor on the battlefield, the more wounded people, the more courage, the more determination. So in fact, compassion is fully other oriented. The more suffering, the more our compassionate courage will grow. So some of us might think, yes, but what about people whose mind is filled with hatred, with cruelty, those who massacre others, as we can see, unfortunately, so often today? What should be our attitude? Isn't it natural to feel like we take revenge or to sort of try to neutralize them in violent way? But maybe, of course, we can have moral judgment, but compassion is something different. Compassion is not weakness. Compassion is about going and eradicating the cause of suffering wherever it is, whatever shape they take. So even if you take the most bloody dictator, we should assume the way of looking at a skillful physician. If he gets a very mad patient, dangerous patient, he will contain the patient, and then he's not going to take a stick from behind his chair and bash the patient down. He's going to find, can there be a cure? Or can I prevent that sickness from arising in others? So, what better could we wish to the bloodiest dictator that may hatred, may cruelty, may greed, may indifference be eradicated from that person's mind? Or may I do anything to prevent that from arising again in the future? Prevention in any possible way. That's compassion. So look at someone who harms others, who harms you, harms humanity, with the attitude of a skillful physician. Do anything that is needed, but without hatred. Ultimate goal, removing the causes of suffering. So we could imagine we can do that for longer and longer. Sometimes we might feel too overwhelmed. So maybe when this happens, we can shift to a kind of meditation which is about deeply rejoicing in the good qualities of so many human beings who do extraordinary things for others. Like great luminaries like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Dalai Lama, those very inspiring human beings, Mother Teresa, whoever, just well-known or unknown heroes of compassion, and fully rejoice in their qualities, in their deeds, in their achievement from the heart. So as you can see, it is very short, but we could extend that. Now to come back, so you can see the great variety of techniques and methods. Now just to conclude, just a few considerations about how to deal with thoughts, emotions. So what happens? Sometimes out of the blue, one thought comes. Oh, why did he do that to me? Why did he say that to me? Or some thought about something, someone, a situation, a person who feels strongly attracted to, sort of craving, grasping. thought comes. Just one thought is not very powerful. It's like a spark. If that spark falls on a heap of dry grass, then fire comes, and the forest soon will be in fire. One thought, give 2, give 4, then 8, and 16. The whole mind is swelled with a swarm of thoughts of animosity, craving, resentment. Not a second of peace, anxiety, fear. So what do we do with that? It's much easier to deal with the thought at the time of the spark. The spark is very easy. Just do like this with your fingers, or let it vanish in space. I give the example of a bird passing through the sky. Passes, no trace. But if the bird multiplies, and so many birds that you can't even see the sky anymore. So we should learn the skill to recognize these thoughts that are putting your mind in trouble, whatever they are, and just know how to let it pass as they arise, and then move on. Another skill that we really end with is, okay, there's thoughts, memories, emotions, hopes and fears. There's something deeper than that in the mind. Behind the screen of thoughts is this basic faculty of knowing. We call that the luminous aspect of mind. Luminous because, like a torchlight. Torchlight allows me to, this light allows me to see you, you see me. But the light is not conditioned by what it lights up. If I shine a torchlight on a heap of garbage, it doesn't become dirty. If I shine on a heap of diamond, it doesn't become expensive. Light just reveals. It's not modified by what it leads up. So let's try to see behind the whirlpool of thoughts, chain reactions of the mind, that freshness of this present moment, the pure awareness that's behind every mental activity, but always there, always there. And see if you can rest a moment in that pure, clear awareness of the mind without much content. And if content comes, let it go. Rest in that, identify that. It's the ultimate place of rest in a way. It's the ultimate place of peace because that pure awareness has no conflict. It's neither hatred nor attachment, it's just awareness. If you're anxious, you're aware of anxiety. What is aware is not anxious, it's just aware. So let's try to see beneath all those thoughts, this mental FM radio, the silence of concept and thoughts, the pure luminosity of the mind. So just rest a few seconds in that if we can. So, as you can see, we have such a treasure, in fact, in our mind, such a treasure of freedom, of wisdom, of compassion. It's up to us. Which one are we going to feed? Are we going to feed attraction, repulsion, or inner peace, inner freedom, compassion? That's all it's about. what are we going to train? What are we going to feed? What are we going to let feed our mind most of the time? Our mind can be our best friend or worst enemy. So it's up to us. So that shows that it's a beautiful potential, and we can certainly do something. The control of the outer condition is limited by nature, it's ephemeral, and often illusory. The universe is not a mail order catalog for our fancies. But the mind, at least, is within the reach of our capacity to transform the way we translate outer conditions into either inner misery or inner peace. That's up to us. So, let's try to do our best for our own sake, for the sake of others. So that's it. That's for the time being. So I didn't keep track of time, but whatever time we have left, we can, if you have any questions, yes, please.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I think as a meditator, a big question I always have is why are our meditations so much more powerful when we're in group? Can you speak to that at all?
Well, we have this concept of community, a sense of companionship when we travel, the long journey in the forest or helping each other. I think it's more the sense of we're not left just on our own, lost in the middle of nowhere. In a traditional setting, where I saw the photos of those great masters, we say and we actually experience that there's nothing more powerful to be for progressing in meditation to be in the presence of the great master of the Dalai Lama or just master of whom I showed the photos. But there is a great virtue in somehow being together. There is a saying in India that says, they use kusha grass. Kusha grass is like the sort of nice grass, and usually you put many together to do a broom. So even you have 100 separate kusha grass, you cannot broom. But if you put them together, then you can broom nicely. So, but there's no more than 100, but they are together. So somehow there's something. It's not this kind of vibes and things like that. I'm not sure. This idea that the whole world tomorrow at 10 o'clock is going to meditate on peace and something will happen. I'm not sure about that. But I think getting together, sharing a common aspiration to become better human beings, to cultivate compassion, there is a sense of inspiration to be together for that, of course.
So first off, reading from Golden Camera, Matthieu Ricard to you. My question is, in terms of meditating while people are guiding you through it, you were talking, or sometimes people play music. I've found it very hard at times to focus if there isn't actually a moment of silence. So, is this something that is more of a beginner's issue, or is, a constant dialogue or music throughout without any breaks, like you gave us a break, without any breaks, is that sometimes disruptive?
After music?
Yeah.
It's well known that we say music, I don't know if we say in English, but in French we say la musique adoucit les mœurs, music soothes, what do you say in English? Soothes the soul, the thought, okay. It's true that you have a long day, quite intense, a lot of sometimes stressful things, and then you go home and whatever music you like. I don't know if heavy metal will do it, but if you play Bach or something very soothing and beautiful, there's a sense of harmony from the music that sort of soothes your mind. And this has been shown to have some effect on attention and calming the mind. So once I have a friend who's a great conductor, a symphony conductor, and I used to be myself playing classical music when I was young, and I always found to listen to beautiful music. But I told him that as much as music can soothe when you are in a very frantic environment, and suddenly you have this beautiful, serene music, I told him, but when you are, say, in a Hermitage facing the Himalayas with this beautiful landscape, and you have the whole day ahead of you, perfect silence, and to tune your mind while the meditation is as much outside as inside, such a silence that you can sometimes, people can almost shout from one end of the valley to another. Once I heard some kind of, what do you call some noise like I was thinking, what's this going? It sounds like fire. And maybe it's risky, maybe the forest in my head is setting fire. And look, there was a fire, a grass fire on the other side of the valley. And it was so silent that the sun was coming. I can hear the rain coming. You hear the rain suddenly comes. There are 2-3 minutes before I hear it's coming from the right, on the left, it goes on the tree, it goes, rain is coming. So in that silence, I told my friend who's the conductor, playing music would actually not soothe your mind, it would take you out of that even deeper state of calm and serenity, where it's sort of a level of slightly more sort of excitement or movement. So it depends of what you come from in the day, your activities. You need a moment of soothing, of calming. It's kind of a born to the hectic, frantic impressions that come from all the lights, the sound, the people, the voice, conversation, the activities. But I think if you spend some time, in retreat, or even spend a day in a very beautiful natural environment where the silence is there, then you don't hear the music anymore, because that is even deeper somehow. You don't feel threatened, it's not leading to distraction, it's just so restful and peaceful.
My question is, what is the relationship, if any, between forgiveness and compassion? And my question is directed specifically when you were directing us to feel compassion for those who have harmed you personally or in general. I had a hard time doing that, and I didn't know if what you were saying was with training it's unnecessary to forgive or.
Yes, so when there is either a person or a group or whatever who inflicts harm on others, why we feel something outraged, but even we feel it's horrendous? Because those are major causes of suffering and devastation, yes? They're inflicting incredible injustice, barbaric acts. So that's the most extreme form of suffering that is voluntarily inflicted, right? So, of course, this is opposite of what we would want, freedom from suffering. And in fact, those people, somehow, they are the slave of their own mental poisons. So to give you an example that is helpful, that you find in the Buddhist scriptures, if someone beats you with a stick, And you get the stick, the pain comes from the stick. But then you are not going to be angry at the stick. That's true. You will be angry at the person. But if you think of it, the person is a stick in the hands of hatred. It's a madness. So the real enemy is not the human being that is overpowered by hatred. Of course, this is 100% despicable, but it's the hatred that is the enemy. So if someone comes and said, "Doctor, I have the flu," I said, "No, sorry, you are not the flu, you got the flu. So you are sick with the flu." Of course, sickness can last long and can be quite deep, can be a fatal sickness. But still, it's a deviance, it's an aberration. It's something that overpowers the mind of that person. So the idea is that it is that destructive state of mind that is the real enemy. That's already something that's nice to understand, so that although actions are not without excuse, hatred is the ultimate enemy, but someone can be sick one day and cured after some time. So where does forgiveness comes into the picture? It's never about saying, "Oh, that's not too bad," or even you have excuses because you were, I don't know, raised like that, or because you suffered yourself violence when you were young. It's not minimizing that, it's not caring for the victims, of course. It's nothing of that. At some point, you say, okay, if hatred replies to hatred, there's no end. The Buddha said, or Gandhi said, if you apply eye for eye, tooth for tooth, the world will soon be blind and toothless. Because there's endless replying. And then you come to the same sort of kind of mental state by seeking revenge. So what you want is not something weak. You don't want to let that be. You have to neutralize any way possible. But you don't want to fuel hatred by again adding hatred that will bring more hatred and then again doing that. So forgiveness is at some point is saying enough. I want to break the cycle of retaliation and endless hatred replying to hatred. And I give you some examples. Of course, it's more difficult at the level of nations, at the level of conflict, but even at the individual level. I remember the case of a young American woman who was killed in the streets in South Africa by gangs of young people. So when the time came to bring those to court, the parents came and looked in the eyes of those three teenagers and said, "We don't want to inflict on you what you did on your daughters." So they want us to stop. Those people have to be not able to continue to harm. But the idea that we want to do that is just not the way. Another testimony that really struck my mind, there was a woman in Iran. There was someone trying to marry her, but she didn't know her very well. And she said no. So one day that guy met her in the street and with a big smile he threw acid on her face. And she felt that her face was just melting. So she lost her eyes. And in Iran you can apply the eye for eye, tooth for tooth. You can ask legally that the person receive the same treatment that he has inflicted on you. So she did that, she asked for that. And after several years or whatever, the judge said, yes, you can do that. So the guy was brought to a hospital. The lady came with her family because she was blind, and her uncle and brother and mother. They said, now you can carry out the same punishment. You can throw acid on that acid pool on that person's face. Then she came and the guy started insulting them and said, "You are such a bitch," and he was of course terrified and also in a very combative mood. And she could not carry the sentence, so her uncle volunteered. As they were about to do it, suddenly it flashed in their mind that he is going to experience all that terrible pain and what's changed completely her life. And that powerful image, she said, stop. I cannot do that. What I like, I cannot inflict that on another human being. So there was a big silence. And the judge got a bit angry and said, you really want to stop? She said, yes, I cannot do that to him what he did to me. And then the guy fell on his knees, cried and embraced her and asked for forgiveness instead of us insulting her. And she said, by doing that, I gave him back his humanity. So those are very poignant examples. There are many like that. And I think the idea of breaking the cycle of hatred, this was not out of weakness. It was simply that breaking the cycle of hate. Because it's endless. And then they always seek revenge. Probably in Iran, the brothers of that would come and try to get. It would be endless. So that's what we have to do. It's not minimizing the act, it's not being tolerant to the act, it's not condoning the act, it's not trying not to prevent. That's enough. Stop it. We don't want that anymore. So that's what I think the real meaning of forgiveness is. It's a strong decision, but it's stopping the cause of suffering.
One of the twins that was tortured during the Holocaust by Joseph Mengele, tortured every day. She and her sister. I think there were 1,200 twins that were brought to Auschwitz, and only 37 of them survived, but she and her sister survived. And on the 50th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, she brought with her one of the Nazi doctors. And in front of everyone, she said, I, with my power, I forgive you. Because you have ruined 50 years of my life, but you're not going to ruin one more day. And you talk about.
Studies have shown that forgiveness is not just giving up. It's also very liberating. There were stories of someone who watched the person who had killed one of the relatives being put to death because you can do so when the death penalty is applied. And that person could not find peace because it's never enough. The person didn't suffer enough, or something is still not done, and it didn't bring back the other person to life. It's not, so there's no deep sense of resolving that issue. And all the studies have shown that at some point when you say, okay, that's a mad person, a mad, terrible act, but I'm going to forgive, this is somehow where to bring back their life to these people. And that's been shown again and again by the people who studied the process of forgiveness.
It's freedom of mind, right? It's the freedom to choose. I choose not to be angry. Thank you. We are so blessed to have you with us as a teacher and a leader to inspire us and to teach us how to become more compassionate and more altruistic, and in the end to have more freedom with our minds and what could be better. So let's thank Matthieu again. About all this talk about loving kindness and love and compassion. We've always said we wanted to have babies, but tonight might be the night. So enjoy, say hi to people you don't know. We have amazing people here. Bid on a bunch of silent auction items and have a great night. Thank you so much for being here.